Muy buenas.
Hello, we're going to start with celebrations actually, because we have birthdays to celebrate. So 10 years, the 10-year anniversary of Ilusoriom. So I think it was the right time to celebrate. And when you do work of this quality and level, it's always something that needs congratulating. But actually today, we're also celebrating our 10th year anniversary. So thank you. Thank you very much for coming and for sharing with us something which is quite current. I mean, which is how video games and animation feed off each other and where they coincide and where they don't. So thank you. Thank you so much for coming. No, thank you, Manuel. Thank you for the invitation. Okay. So, hello everyone. Thank you for coming. I just got here moments ago to see the sort of audience that we have. So I'm going to ask you one first question. I understand that all of you know something about animation. Some don't know about animation, or do you all know about animation? Please raise your hands if you know about animation. Okay, great. Okay, great. Then I hope you don't mind what just happened to me. I am actually quite busy right now, and I was invited to do this presentation. And once again, I thank you for inviting me, because it's a pleasure to be here at the Cinema Academy presenting this to you all. But I hadn't time enough to do the presentation that I wanted to do, and I had to use an old one I had. And I'm going to talk to you about the needs, the challenges, and the financial gaps in the Spanish fabric of the audiovisual industry. How's that? Do you like my presentation? I think it's interesting, isn't it? And it's a topic that is not usually tackled, so I hope you'll like it.
Bueno, la típica presentación.
It's, you know, the usually presentation that we have, and I'm not going to show you this because you don't care about any of this. So let's just go to the thick of it. Since we were here to talk about video games and animation, I have decided to tell you what the market looks like currently.
En España.
In Spain.
No sé si en el mundo, no me lo aprendí.
Or in the world. I actually haven't really read it before coming here. Nah, don't worry. I didn't come here to talk about that.
Espero que.
Okay, so let's start. I hope you've liked everything that you have seen up till now, and that you really enjoyed all the presentations, and I hope you liked it. And at any point in time, you can ask questions if you want. Just interrupt me. And if it's not about what I'm talking about, you can also ask questions, okay? Because it's about having a dialogue, right? So now, the first thing I'm going to be telling you about quite quickly is what is Ilusoriom. Ilusoriom, to me, are mainly two things, two pillars. On the one hand, we have a team of people. We started out being only 4 of us, and we are currently almost 100 people in the studio. And to be honest, it is an honor, a pleasure, and it is really marvelous to have a team and talent such as the one that we have in this studio. And not only do we have a team of people, but we also have an ambition and a clear direction of the fact that we want to have a real Spanish brand of high-quality animation. And just to show you what Ilusoriom looks like from within, I have brought a video that was edited by someone who's here. Thank you so much for the job, and I hope you like it.
Sometimes I just can't take it. Sometimes I just can't take it. And it isn't alright. I'm not gonna make it. And I think my shoes are tight. I'm like a broken record. I'm like a broken record. I'm not playing right. Just cynical, I beg kill me. Till you tell me you're not having fun. Hold tight. Come on. Come on. Don't let go. Hold tight. Hold tight. Ooh, it's alright, you said. I got my hands up shaking just to let you know that you got a higher power. Got me singing
Am I on? Yes. Hello? Am I on? Should I shout or can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, good. So the first thing to us is having a team of people and enjoying the work that we do. And it's about having fun and there's lots of passion. And the second thing is an ambition. And this ambition has a very clear path ahead. As Manuel has said previously, we have already celebrated our 10th anniversary not long ago, and we have defined our workflow since we began in a different way. It's a different workflow than the ones that you would find in the industry with lots of international references. And I would like to tell you a bit about it, if I could. But before I do, let's just go through our history. So before we started this, I want to say that all the data that I am going to give you here, I've made them up. There is no basis for any of these things. So if it's a lie, I mean, if they don't coincide with the truth, I'm really sorry, but I just made them up. And historically, we see that the cinema industry and the video game industry kind of merge. You make movies that work, and then suddenly you want to make products for that movie, and you create a video game for that movie, and that is something that everyone was okay with, and they produced video games like that. Some video games were better, some were worse, because if you play video games, you will know that video games, I mean, movie video games are usually pretty bad. Okay, so what happened? When they tried to do it the other way around, usually they would say no. There weren't many movies or... But it's true that historically, when we started with CGI, both worlds met here, which is in cinema trailers. These trailers are animations, short animations, with a spectacular level of quality, with a higher budget than any movie, any series, and that can be seen in the final product. So video games, with time, have been more important, have given importance to the story and to those trailers. So out of all of the roads, there was something that separated us, and those are the render engines. The render engines are basically the ones that allow for the final image to be processed. And there used to be a huge difference between online render and offline render. I mean, the real-time render and the one that requires calculation time. Some time ago, this technology is not very old, but previously there was a big difference, and you couldn't get the quality that you would get with those renders that took their sweet time. You could not get that quality with real-time renders. Now we see that the gap is disappearing, and that is allowing for us to understand that that is just part of the past, because nowadays I think that the landscape has completely changed. And here we have Arcane, which I'm sure that you all know about it in this room, and it was a game player, because I think he wanted to say game changer, because it has really changed the industry of video games and animation.
Está impactando a todos y a todos los que trabajamos.
And this is impacting us all of us who work in animation, and we will see how these two worlds will be closer and closer together. So I think that now we are getting to the moment of merger.
Vale, y como os decía, pues esto nos impacta a todos.
And as I said, this impacts us all. So we're a studio that has always liked cinema trailers, because it's a part of the industry that has the greatest quality, or that used to have more quality, because now we have all sorts of products. And now I'm going to show you something I mean, some of the things that we do, we actually premiered it in Digital World last year, well, this summer. It's a reel and it's published, but you can look at it, but I'm going to show it to you now.
I guess Mom was right. The bigger they are, the faster they fizzle.
Muchas gracias. Gracias.
Thank you. And well, we started a bit late. And please let me know when I run out of time, because that's where the presentation starts. That was the intro, really. So please stop me whenever you want. How much time do I have left? I'm going to try and modulate it. Okay. Thank you. Well, the idea of today's talk was to tell you what are the similarities and differences between video game and cinema, and how's the synergy between these two worlds. And I wanted to show you this trailer that we did, because despite this not being a very well-known video game, it's one of the most ambitious things that we have produced. We are doing bigger things now, but I thought that it was a very neat example. So we now have, finally, a workflow that goes from the beginning till the end of the production. And when I say from the beginning till the end, is that we actually step in at the script phase. And in this case, the client gives us an idea. And it's usually a very short idea, just a paragraph for them to explain to us what they want for the video to show. And we start developing from there. So scripting, directing, and visualize, absolutely everything. And I'm going to focus on everything that has to do with what's identical in the world of video games and animation. First thing that we do is the look development, what we call it look development. And it's an exploration to try and find the style that we want to give to this specific piece. This is a preliminary phase of the project. I don't know if you've seen it, but you saw part of it in the reel that I showed. But if you see, the final look of the piece has nothing to do with this, and I will show it later on. But we are looking for a direction where we want to go with our client. And we have a premise in the studio, which is trying for all the projects to be a prototype in a way that each project is new and each project has this phase, this discovery phase as well, as we call it. This is just a character turnaround. It's just your typical presentation of the character. And from then onward, we do a location. So we try to have processes that look like a real image, like a real movie, like you're filming, and like a real shooting. And we try to look at all the sequences in the movie, and we develop the backgrounds, and we also explore with the client the whole thing until we find what we were looking for. And all of this is being done simultaneously with animatic. Animatic is basically an animated storyboard, and here we see what the movie will look like. And let me just show you version 11 of animatic. I don't know how many versions we've been working on with these people, but this was version 11, so that you see how much it's changed, because then we have the layout process where we define absolutely everything. I'll explain that to you later.
And as we're rising higher, I wanna feel the bright sun. I wanna feel the power, the gift that carried all along. So when I use my magic, I wanna see the fire glow. Oh, I can feel this music running through my very bones. I promise you that we can live forever, live forever. It's all or nothing, we won't win together, win together. Take your best shot, no more hesitating. Give me all you got, glory's for the taking. This time I know I've got that superpower, superpower. 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 Yeah, this is a war in my heart, and it keeps wanting more. Nah, but I won't give up. You can have my body, but my soul is tough. Yeah. Just go for it, fight for it. I'll bleed for it, die for it. We live for the dream of it. Can you hear my cry right now? I'm crying out. And as we're rising higher, I wanna feel the bright sun. I wanna feel the power, the gift that carried all along. That superpower, superpower. That superpower, superpower. Just go for it, fight for it. I'll bleed for it, die for it. We live for the dream of superpower, superpower. Just go for it, fight for it. I'll bleed for it, die for it. We live for the dream of superpower, superpower. This is a war in my heart, and it keeps wanting more. But I won't give up. Superpower, superpower. This is a war in my heart, and it keeps wanting more. I won't give up. Superpower, superpower. That superpower, superpower.
Pues, como os decía,
So as I was telling you, this is evolving, constantly evolving. So this project also had the specificity of the fact that the music was also created for them. So you'll see that in the end, the music has nothing to do with what you just heard. There was the music studio production was in China, and they kept on sending us new versions, with musical creations, and that obviously causes iterations in addition as well, in the addition process as well. So it's crazy. And once you define the movie, once the movie is defined with that final animatic, then we start assets production. An asset is whatever you want it to be. It can be a character or a prop or a poster or a light, an explosion, anything. Each thing is an element. Each element is an asset. Each element that needs to be created is an asset. And each element that needs to be created has to be designed, has to be modeled, has to be textured, has to be recreated, and it has to be ready for production with some technical specificities and so on. And for that, we have these processes. We have to design the polyedric drawing and all of the technical processes, all the 3D processes, so that we can have all of our characters ready. And when I say assets, I also mean environments. So each thing. And these two are actually a mix of 2D and 3D, because we do a technique with projection. We have hired artists, digital painters who do drawings, and we project them over geometry so that we can get this sort of finishing touches or finished look. And once everything has been done, all the assets are finished, at least for a sequence, so that we can start working on that sequence, then we start what we call the shot production, which is the work for per shot. And in our case, in Ilusoriom, what we do is maintain the movie alive. So we take the animatic that you saw previously, and what we do is update it. And that is the only thing that you see. Once the assets are created, you do not see anything else. I mean, that's what you do see, this montage, this editing. And you can see a shot in animatic, another in layout, another that has been lighted, and another one that is finished. But you always see the whole sequence. Did you understand what I just said? Yes, please go ahead. I'm sorry, but the intervention was without a microphone, and we cannot translate questions without a microphone. With these, the pieces last as long as this. I mean, if you're going to be doing a 1-hour feature film, then you will have to cut by sequences. You have to. But this sort of movies, I mean, this doesn't even last over 2 minutes. So for us, it makes a lot of sense for you to see how the continuity works, and you have to see how everything matches with the previous or the next, and you have to understand that the whole story works when you see it all together. So we never transition, and we just update it. And the whole sequence, because we want to see it whole, but it's a bit uncomfortable if you're not used, because you see some parts that are in a status, and others in different status. Some have been worked on a lot, others are just rough ideas. I don't know if I explained it correctly. Yes, that's right. And the intervention was done off mic. Not everybody does it like that. This is something that we decided to do this way, and there are many other companies who do it like we do, but it's not something that everybody does. Now, for you to understand the situation, I have brought to you Edit V15, and if I'm not wrong, I think we got to 48. I think there were 48 versions of this, so that you see what you can see during the process. Okay, so this was, I think, 8 months project, almost a year. I don't remember exactly how long it was. And a moment, at a certain point on a weekly basis, you see updates of this, which I'm going to show you.
Ride with me on this road to life. Motorbike, quicker than the speed of sight. Battle, see me on your feet tonight. Succeed whether or not they proceed to fight. Got the keys, envy what they seem to dream. Got my God hell high, red like green light. I'ma keep going, bow down to the queen. Make everything stop dead in headlights. Ball shit, flow sick. Forever turned up, not hitting the off switch. Stay on the move like chasing an ostrich. Money in the club, thousands I'm on spin. fortress, name on it, game time, let's roll.
So, as you just saw, this is not just something that helps us see how the movie is updated and how the project advances. This helps the whole team to understand what's the work that we have done, what's the work that remaining to be done, what are the problems that we will be finding on each sequence and each shot, and to define what we need to do in the project. I don't know if you have realized that there were some writings and in the corners that tell you what the status of the things, if the animation is finished, if it's not finished, if it has been approved by a client or not. And in the end, this is our Bible, our project Bible. And with this, we go all the way till the end, and I will show you the end now. And all of these things that I've told you are done that way in video games as well. The difference simply is the render. In order to produce what I have just shown you, you have to click a button and it takes some time, but in a video game you do it real time. So as I told you, since the technologies are advancing and real time and computation are now getting closer, well, now we could maybe do even the same thing. We could do a video game. It would be like any other animation. And I will now show you the final movie. Let's see if you like it.
Sí pasa.
Everything I do make a bang. Transform before me, my house a fortress.
Thank you.
Entonces,
So, as we were saying before, we always wanted to do cinema trailers. And the truth is that we were super lucky because we started doing things for Spanish video games, but the first international that we did was Stoch, and we were able to share this with Alberto Miego, the project, and to collaborate with him. And he chose the project, and we did it in our studio, and he brought his team. We had our own team, and we managed to get this. As well, we managed to do it as we could, basically, because it was quite intense. And in this specific trailer, we were in charge of the character development and a bit of everything else too. So we had a shared team with Alberto, and as I was saying, we learned a lot working with Alberto. It's intense to work for him, but it's incredible because the guy's a genius. And we managed to go through a door that was very interesting, and there's opened many other doors that are also quite cool. As I was saying, we did all the characters for that piece. Alberto is a director who's very clear about things. And when I mean clear, he's very clear about his ideas. He drew everything, he designed everything, he does all the textures so that everything is like he wants it to be. It's incredible working with him. And once you have all the characters designed, then you go to the shooting, and then he goes in as a director, which is also great because he's got a vision of animation slightly different. And he directs as if it was real imaging. It's a very short clip. It's quite old, so I'm not going to show it all, but just so that you can see the result.
ah, no.
Well, apparently not.
Pues no lo vais a poder ver.
I'm afraid you won't be able to watch it.
¿Lo habéis visto? ¿Lo conocéis?
Do you know it? Well, have you seen it? Yeah, well, that's enough then. And this is a really cool project. Our first international cinematic, and after that, I mean, the truth is that we have lots of collaborations, cross-labor, as we call them, or white label, for which we can't tell that we've worked for them, basically. And since last year, or a couple of years ago, we stopped that philosophy of doing products for other people and not being able to talk about them. And now we can talk about everything that we do. And one of the things that made us especially happy was SETI, which was also done last year. Zeri. And we always wanted to do something for League of Legends. It was one of our dreams. And last year it became true. And we were lucky enough to do the presentation of this new champion. This was a whole project done by Ilusoriom with also part of Riot Games. So we did the assets, we do them, we do all the environments, we do the localization, and then we go into the shooting. And this is very short.
You wanna mess with him? You got to deal with me first. Again? Oh, come on. The faster they fizzle.
Y
And that was the first collaboration with Riot, but not the last one. But I can't say more. I have to stop there. I'll have to stop there. And to finish, showing you some things. Like I said, we try for all the projects to be prototypes and for all of them to be different. And for me personally, this project is a little jewel. It's great. It's a project that I think is totally different to everything else that's in the market. They have a philosophy that I loved when it was presented to me. The video game is Sky. They are the ones that created Euro. And the other people who believe that you can do different video games. And they're achieving it. And so this, they met us through Evan Viera, who's a director from the US, with whom we've worked a lot. It's also a pleasure to work with him. And we do most of the things that we do it with him. And this was a real honor because we found a team that had a similar view to Alberto. They wanted to have everything under control. They wanted to have everything to be in their hands. But I don't know, if you look at what about if you make this up and you do another line, they ask you what it means. And you have to give them an explanation of why you've done a different line. And then you said, yes, but the dirtiness in that world 20 years ago, what sense did it make for it to have that line? They ask you absolutely everything. It's incredible to work with them. And also, we were looking for a style that is very much like Miyazaki, which is another huge reference for us. And when they told us that they wanted to do something like him, we loved it. And what you can see are designs we've made. There's lots of them, lots of designs for this project. And I think they are beautiful. I don't know if I show you the final film. I mean, what I'm going to show you now is the teaser of something which you don't know what it is. And there's also a very modest teaser on the internet, but I can't show it to you. But if you look for it, then you'll be able to see the new teaser. So this is it. Thank you all for coming. Well, it's exactly 2:30. If you have any questions, I'm not sure if there's time, but anyway, just in case, I'm here. One question there, please. And another one up there. And then another one down there. Hi. Thank you very much for your presentation. I can't see you. Please say your name, okay? Thank you. My name is Angel. I'm a modeler. And my question is more about modeling within your trailers, the trailers that you've shown us. I wonder how many characters, how many people work in your studio, actually? And the role of model, I mean, modeling has peaks during the production, right? So are they in-house or not? Do you use them from the beginning or to the end? Do you hire them for the whole process, even though the workload goes in peaks? Well, it's actually a great question. What a coincidence, because we have Trier here, who is lead of modeling in Ilusoriom, and I think he may want to answer the question actually, rather than me. Why don't you answer? Come here, come and answer. Yes, go for it. You answer the question, it's better.
que sí, hombre. No, me va a matar.
Venga,
Es muy
anímate.
grande. Perdona, Traian, que te haga esto, pero es que
I'm sorry, Trian, I'm doing this to you, but it makes sense. My name is Trian. We are not a very large team. There's not many modelers, but we have things very clear in our mind. We have Charlie Sastre, who's the supervisor for modeling, and he chose the team, I guess. Well, he saw us and he trusted us, I guess. And you do not need a lot of modelers, especially for characters. There's very few of us. If you want a figure, let me think. There's 4 of us. And we have done, the 4 of us, huge amount of characters, loads and loads of them. But anyway, the time for characters is quite short, but the characters do not have a huge complexity either. So we do it quite quickly. And as Raúl said, Evan has very clear ideas and gives us very clear instructions. But we'll see, maybe in the future, if we have more complicated projects, maybe we'll have to change that. I'm really sorry, I'm very nervous. No, I'm really sorry I put you on the spot. We had a question back there. Thank you very much for the question. Thank you. Thank you, Tram, for answering. Thank you. I'm really sorry. My name is Carlos. I study fine arts and animation right now. And I wanted to ask you, how long does it take to do the trailers? These trailers and ads you make. And do you overlap a lot? Like you finish work, you wait a bit and then you start another one? Or is there a bit of overlapping? Or when you finish a pre-production in one, you start with the pre-production of another one, and this is how you go. Yes, in fact, sometimes we overlap. We have several things at the same time. How long does it take us? Well, it really depends on the project and the needs and the resources that we have, obviously. Because, for instance, for this slide, which is the example I showed you, I think it was about 8 months or 9 months in order to do 1.5 minutes of animation with a team of, about 100 people have touched it. You have 100 people in Ilusoriom working at some point. So it really depends. If you have less resources, you may do the same, but then it takes you 3 years. It really depends how you structure the plan and the project. But the average is that, more or less. To do 1 minute in 6 months is very normal at Ilusoriom. And then the other questions is how we do it in terms of projects. Well, fortunately, we have grown a lot. And now we have very well structured teams, and our whole structure is better defined, and we have separate groups for different projects. Normally, we may work in 4 or 5 projects simultaneously, okay? To a larger or smaller scale, but that's more or less it. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Any other questions? Here.
I'm Hideki. I'm an animation journalist, and my question is about the business environment of European video game industry in near future. Because in Japan, big traditional video game companies like Capcom or Square Enix have developed several animated feature films as their multimedia business. But on the other hand, currently super rich mobile game developers like Cygames or Mixi, they can develop anime series for as a kind of their marketing materials. So it's increased the big chance or opportunities for animation creators to develop new series or feature films. So do you think that kind of business environment will come to Europe as well?
Yes. Well, thanks a lot for the question. Shall I answer in English or?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so thanks a lot for the question. Again, I think that the situation right now is absolutely changing, and this is going to affect every single animation feature or series or whatever. It's super easy to see that there are a lot more people playing games than actually watching TV, So what happened with Arcane was that they did this series, and I don't know how many people watched that, because I mean, how many people actually plays League of Legends? A lot. So all of them are going to watch that thing. So what happened is that, what I think is that every single game company is now trying to do their own feature, series, whatever content, to be able to actually produce animation with their games. So yes, I mean, that is happening to me right now. I am doing a lot of things like that for company games that are asking me to do things. Okay.
Raúl does things. We have another question here, please. Tenemos otra pregunta.
Another question. Hi, I wanted to ask you. Please remember to say your name. My name is Elena, and are you a student or are you a professional? Or I'm a student in 3D, 2D animation and interactive video games. And my question is, do you bring in a 2D and 3D animation in the same trailer? Do you add them? For instance, Arcane, we did the smoke effect, the fire effect. Do you mix 2D and 3D, or in the characters as well, the style, etc.? Because sometimes it was so mixed up, and I wanted to know whether you're going towards 3D or you also take into consideration 2D. For instance, Disney films is all done in 3D. But are you trying to bring both worlds together to evolve more like that? What do you reckon? Thank you very much for your question, actually. I really like it. Yes, in Illusoriom, we have a combination of 2D and 3D, yes. And just to give you some context, I think that it was Sony that opened the doors with Spider-Verse. And it started, I don't know, I mean, it opened the door for the mainstreaming, okay? Because in the world of short films and in the more underground world, you could see a lot of 2D and 3D together. But suddenly, Sony did that film, and it mixed both techniques, and that also it was another game changer, like Arcane, and Arcane took it to the top. For me, it's a work of art, in fact. It's difficult to know sometimes what's 2D and 3D. It's a mixture that it's huge, a huge blend. And in fact, we have a 2D effects department for all of this. We do all the effects in 2D. It's true that we use a 3D base to help them with the perspectives. There are certain things that we also do 2D animation because we want to. For instance, in the example of your slide that you've seen, there's a crow. And we really like the look and what you can do with 2D because you can break things apart. That's more difficult to do with 3D. So the crow is going to be in 2D and it's integrated into the film. So we do mix 2D and 3D a lot. And I think increasingly more you'll see that. And all of this, I mean, the virtual reality has also been integrated. I don't know if at some point you've thought about using it too. Or maybe you're already doing it. It's something that I'm very interested in. But before, I mean, we are still not a huge company, right? We are able to move quite quickly to those type of technologies. But for instance, we thought if we get Oculus and we can paint in 3D, and we could set Oculus and draw in 3D in Oculus for a bit. Now, if we want to test it, you have to demonstrate why, etc. It's not as easy as before. So it's a world that we are very interested in, but really, I haven't gone into it a lot. I haven't experimented a lot.
Hola, soy Diego.
Hi, my name is Diego. I all study with her in the same school. And I have a question regarding hers, because you said that you complement 2D and 3D. But with regard to the staff, I would like to know if you need for people to work in 2D or 3D, or you separate. No, they're totally separate. Totally separate. In Ilusoriom, we try for each to be a very specialized on something. We don't like the general world in which a person does a bit of everything. We like profiles that know two things, though, because so that when you don't work in one thing, you can work on the other, but only two things only, okay? So in 2D, the people that do 2D only do 2D. It's also true that now the worlds are blending together. The father people, they want paintings, and you have to hire more digital artists for more 3D processes, for texturizing, for instance. So now we do have some profiles that, as well as 2D animation, they can texturize. But because both things are about drawing, they don't do 2D and rigging, for instance, no. Okay, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. There's a question here. Hi, my name is Eduardo, 2D animator. You have a lot of talent in the studio, and it's clearly, you can see it clearly. As well as doing jobs for video games companies, do you have any personal projects or things that you may be doing, that you have on the pipeline? Thank you for the question. Well, we started with that idea, but then we stopped. And we decided not to do our own production until the right time comes. And I must say that it is possible that the right time may be near us, but I can't say much more. I'll stop there. Perfect. We'll stop there. Well, thank you very much, Raúl, for sharing a lot, because you've shared a lot with us. Thank you. And thank you for the effort of coming here. And happy birthday to your studio. And I hope that you have many decades ahead of you. Thank you very much for coming.
Gracias.